Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Yata Sarvani Bhutani Pratibhanti Sthitani Cha Yatraivo Pashamam Yanti Tasmai Satyatmane Namaha. So where are we in our text?
Chapter 3, number 34.
Chapter 3, verse 34. Can you help us out?
Yeah. Section 4. Brahma Swarupam. The nature of Brahman or the Supreme Spirit. Maha Pralaya Sampattau Sarvakarana Karanam Shishyate Yat Param Brahma Tadvidam Varnyate Shrinu. In the fulfillment of the great dissolution, the Supreme Brahman or ultimate reality, the cause of all generative causes, which is left remaining, is now explained. Hear that.
Yes. So at the end of class, we do the Purnamada mantra. Purnamada, that is full. Adaha. Purnam. Purnam idam. All this is full. Purnat Purnam udachyate. From the fullness of that, the fullness of this has proceeded or issued forth. Purnasya Purnamadaya, when from the fullness of that, the fullness of this is taken away, the great pralaya, the dissolution. Purnam eva avashishyate. Fullness alone. What is that fullness? What is that Brahman? Is now being explained. Now, we can interpret this macrocosmically as we just did, but microcosmically too. So, from the deep sleep state, which is the seed of my personal little zoo, both the waking state issues forth and the dream state issues forth. And they all go back into their seed form. But something there is that is always there. It's birth, changeless, deathless, eternal I, aham. When the mind dissolves, that's still there. Even in samadhi, the world disappears, the ego sense disappears, something remains. So let's see what the scripture says about it. Next verse.
चिन्मात्रं चेत् चिन्मात्रं चेत्यरहितम् अनन्तम् अजरं शिवम् अनादिम् अर्ध्यपर्यन्तम् यदनादि निरामयम्. It is only of the nature of pure consciousness, free from things perceived, boundless, undecaying, blissful, devoid of beginning, middle, and end, existing from eternity and without taint.
So let's parse it and go through it idea by idea. So the first idea, please.
It is only of the nature of pure consciousness, free from things perceived.
Yes. Chit. So this not only is a cosmological description, but it has a practice implied. What is the practice? Subject object discrimination. We want to free our attention from things perceived. I am not the body. Let me back up a sec. We actually have a body that's grosser than the physical body. What's grosser than the physical body? The body of my affairs, my little personal zoo. The things perceived, seen, heard, taste, touched, and smelled, to which I react. That is the grossest body. We don't normally talk about that. I am not any of that. I'm not my job. I'm not my family, my relationships. None of that. I am not the physical body. The physical body is an object of awareness. I'm not prana. I'm not the energy. What about kundalini? You're not your kundalini. I'm not feelings, mind, judgments, not thoughts. I'm not even the karta, the sense of agency, this chid abhasa, this reflected consciousness that gives me the sense of an individual. I'm not the nescience of pure ignorance, of deep sleep. When I withdraw from all of that in meditation, attentive faculty turn within, stilling the mind just a little bit. Who am I? Who hears the sound of the rain and the traffic? Nobody there. Yet it's being known by pure consciousness. Next idea.
Boundless.
Yeah. How big am I? How little am I? There are no edges, no boundaries, vast and empty. In this text, we get one of my favorite terms that point to the self, Chit Akasha, the space of pure awareness. Sometimes it feels I'm a point from which I look out. And when I get really still, it seems like no, there's no locus to the sound. Reason is actually yourself is outside of time and space. It has no dimension. I can't hook a shape onto it. Vast, shoreless ocean. Bound. Next idea.
Undecaying.
Yes. Everything in the world of name and form decays and dies. It is impermanent. But I never changes. It doesn't rise, it doesn't fall. Don't believe me. Maybe you're a little gray ball with wings that gets squishy when it gets old. See? No. Yourself is always the same. No matter what goes on in the external of life, positive and negative, the self is undecaying. Next idea.
Blissful.
Yeah. This is always a tricky one. Because if the self is my essential nature and I'm experiencing it all the time, well, I don't feel blissful all the time. Well, what does that mean? That means what you think bliss is isn't what bliss is. You are always experiencing ananda. That's your self nature. It's your swarup. So do not confuse the emotional state of being blissful with what we mean by bliss absolute. Again, you've all heard me say this. We start by translating ananda as no sorrow reaches there. Physical pain gets to my body, emotional pain gets to my mind, doubt gets to my intellect. But I am like the center of the cyclone, moving, empty. Well, why do we call it ananda? Because self-realization gives us two deep insights. The first is, I'm birthless, changeless, deathless, always the same. There's no need ever to worry. There's no need ever to be afraid. Secondly, what is my mind always doing? It's looking for happiness. The dharma of the mind. It's a pleasure seeker, pain avoider mechanism. It's what it's always doing. From the moment you get out of bed in the morning to the moment your head hits the pillow at night, all we do is look for the good. What about people who self-sacrificing? They do it because they think that's good. Everything is done for the love of the self. When I get what I want, what happens? The Vikshepa Shakti, the projecting power of the mind, stop. We got this wonderful term in Monday night class, Brahmananda Rasa Swad. Swad means to taste the juice of the bliss of Brahman. When the mind comes home, in a sense, it ceases to be a mind. If we think of mind as that extroverted, jonesing, longing thing. And I find peace. Atmaramana, mind can revel. Or we can then translate Ananda as the fountainhead, the wellspring, the source of all the mind's happiness. Any thoughts on this? Next idea.
Devoid of beginning, middle, and end.
Yes. As the Christian scripture says, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. So is the truth of the self. Never begins, it never ends. It's always in the eternal now. And always the same. Next idea.
Existing from eternity.
Yes. Well, how do I know I didn't come into conscious awareness when I was born? Why do you think that? Because I can't remember anything before I was born. You can't remember anything 10 years ago. Memory is no, or the loss of memory, the lack of memory is no test of existence. So for now, you can accept it in faith, Shraddha. But look to your own experience. You are always the same. No catastrophe has affected you. And I love what Ramdas used to say towards the end of his life. Even dying is completely safe. It'll be like getting a haircut. Something falls away, but you go nowhere. Next idea.
Existing from eternity.
Yes. We call that infinite, eternal ground of being Brahman. And the Upanishads thunder, I am Atma, Brahma. This self is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, not I know Brahman. I am. The eternal factor. Hidden where nobody thinks to look for it. not on top of the mountain. 400 million people going to the Kumbh Mela. My God. It's closer than hand to foot. It's closer than your breath. It's closer than your innermost thought. It's your very experience of hidden where no one thinks to look for. Next idea.
And without taint.
Yes. Is it near Mullam?
This they use Niramayam.
Near Ramayam. Okay. No taint, no dirt, nothing there. So many people in the spiritual life seek purity. They meet a Mahatma, they think, oh, they're so pure. I'm just a vulgar person. To try to make your equipment pure is like trying to count to the highest number. No one ever arrives at it. And yourself is already. That the last.
That was the last idea.
Okay, next verse.
Drishtre darshana drishyanam madhye yat darshanam sthitam. Among the seer, seeing, and the seen, it exists as seeing or cognition.
Yes. It is the very awareness of the simplest waking state. You don't have to be in some meditation in the end. In the beginning, it's of great value to still the mind, to stop the mind. But once you grasp it, it is always there. It's the simple awareness of the most ordinary waking state. When are you ever not you? When are you ever not knowing? Next idea. That was the whole verse?
Yeah.
Next one.
Vedanasya prakashasya drishyasya tamasa tatha vedanam yat anadhyantam tadrupam paramatmanah. Of perception, which is light, and of the perceived, which is darkness, perception or cognition, which is without beginning and end, is of the nature of the Supreme Self.
So this is this text's explanation of what Swamiji used to call his spiritual algebra. Mind M equals A, awareness, plus thought flow, TF. Or you can use Fritti, either one. It's what the mind is. It's the awareness of stuff. That has two dimensions. There is a sentient phase, a knowing phase, prakasha, the light of pure awareness. And there is an inert dimension, jada, the sense objects, the feelings, the thoughts. One thought doesn't know another. One feeling doesn't know your nose. I am the prakash, the light that lights every knowable thing. And with reference to me, they have no inherent consciousness or luminosity. What about another person? There's Mike over there on the couch. Isn't he a conscious being? Wait a minute. Mike, are you aware of your body?
Yes.
Are you the knower and your body is an object of knowledge?
Yes.
Yeah. Why should I think your body's conscious? Hey. There's a sentient being, but it's not your body. Next idea, or next verse.
Vedya Vedana Vedtitva Rupatrayam Idam Puram Yatro Detyastamayati Nirvikaram Niranjanam Yat Sada Bhati Sadrupam Tatrupam Paramatmanaha. Where this abode or body, which is constituted of the three characteristics of the known knowledge and the knower, rises and sets, and which shines forever in the form of pure existence, immutable and without stain, that is the nature of the Supreme Self.
So the self is that which is the knower of the triple D, the triple factor. So, for example, do you know what I had for lunch today? No. I don't know what you had for lunch today. So there's an individual knower knowing and known going on. That individual knower, I love again what Panchadashi calls it, Chid Abhasa, the reflection of consciousness. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us here. So if I had 5 mirrors and I angled them so they would catch the light, each mirror would have a light in it. But is there really a light in the mirror? No. But it's the nature of the mirror to reflect the light. It can shine on people. Such is the nature of the individual intellect. In the intellect, there's this chid abhasa, this reflection of consciousness, which gives me the feeling that I'm a person. Jiva bhavana. Consciousness caught in the web of thought. That's what Swamiji used to say. I also like the term chaya. Chaya also means reflection, but it also means shadow. I like that term because what happens when you shine a light on a shadow? What does it mean? It disappears because its nature is the absence of light. Right? This individuality, this chaya, this karta, this ahankriti, this chidabhasa has many names. When you go looking at it or for it, just like shining a light on a shadow, it falls. So you may be functioning in the world and I can do this and I do that and this happened to me and that is mine, etc. But if you stop and thin the mind, then introvert the light of your attentive faculty. Do your best to look behind your eyes. Notice the knower. Just like when you shine a light on a shadow with an attempt to see it better. What happens when you shine the light on the shadow? It disappears. When you shine the light of attention on I, you do not find a person. Now it's like trying to see your own eyes. It's like trying to taste your tongue. We're using light as a metaphor. It's like trying to shine a flashlight on its own batteries. But what's there? There's no thing there. It's shoreless, boundless space of pure awareness. Where did the ego go? It dissolved, it disappeared, because it was no real thing. It was Chit Chaya, a shadow self. It only appears when the light of awareness is focused outward through the intellect, through the mind, through the senses and the body. Then that assumed self appears to exist. Very powerful. But if you really practice Atma Vichara, investigate that I, individuality falls, disappears. Because it's not real. It's not an entity. Don't believe me. Try it. This was the whole sadhana that Ramana Maharshi recommended for us. Intense inquiry into the nature of the self. Next verse.
Is the concluding verse of the chapter. Iti Shri Vasishtha Sangrahe Utpatti Kramo Nama Tritiya Sargaha. Thus ends the third chapter titled The Manner of Origin in the abridgment of Yoga Vasishtha.
Okay, next chapter.
Chaturtha Sargaha, chapter 4. Leelopakyanam, the story of Leela.
Oh, I love this one. So that's her name, Leela. But what's Leela mean? Play. The word Leela in Sanskrit has the same twofold meaning as the word play in English. For example, I can go to Berkeley Repertory Theater to see a play, a dramatic presentation. Or I can walk across the street on a sunny day and I can see the kids playing soccer in the park, or my football. So it can mean like children playing, sporting, or it can mean a dramatic presentation. So her name here has symbolism. So we're going to learn about the play of this world. Let's go.
Section 1. Devira Prapti, the attainment of the boon from the goddess. Vasishtha Uvacha Atredam Mandapakhyanam Chitta Vishrantitam Shrinu Padmo Nama Nripa Kanchin Shriman Asid Vivekanan Tasyasid Subagha Bharya Leela Nama Pativrata. Vasishtha said, "You hear in this respect a temple legend which gives peace of mind. There was a certain king by name Padma, wealthy and possessed of discrimination. He had a charming wife called Leela, who was devoted to her husband.
So he's a stud. Beautiful. His name's Lotus. And he has this beautiful wife, Leela. And she's so sweet on him. Oh my God.
Saikada Chintayamasa Pranebhyopi Priyapati Yauvanola Vasan Shriman Katham Syad Jaramaraha. She thought once, quote, "My husband is dearer to me than my life. He is possessed of the delights of youth and is prosperous. How may he be ever young and deathless?"
Yeah. So one of the things I like to say to people, you can have a really hot, young lover, or you can have a long-term relationship. You can't have both. Think. So she's not thinking. So she's got this gorgeous stud for her husband. And he's rich. Sugar daddy. She wants him to stay that way forever. And don't we always want that? And it's so interesting. Never mind, we won't go there. Let's finish. Go on with the story.
Tapo Japayamai Nunam Samasta Siddha Siddhayah Samprapyante Maratvam Tu Na Kathanam Jana Labhyate Evam Dvijamukhat Shrutva Chintayamasa Sa Punaha. All successful accomplishments are indeed attained by religious austerity, repetition of sacred words, and self-control. But immortality is not obtained on any account. Having heard thus from the mouth of Brahmanas, she again reflected thus.
So, true story. I had a student for a while. He was sitting right where Mike is sitting. He was a yogi, a hatha yogi. And he was reading this book about the yogis in the Himalayas who practice Kundalini yoga. They take their energy and bring it up and through a channel in the brain and out through a hole in the top of the head. By doing these practices, they live for 400 years. I said to him, he said, "I really want that." I said, "Well, I've got some sad news for you. The first thing you have to do is give up sex and redirect that bindu. And then I have a question for you. So you live for 400 years. What happens at year 401? you're dead. Are you any less dead than the person who dies at 61 or 71 or 81? Mortality is one of the Lord's sankalpas. Nobody gets out alive. So poor Leela here is freaked out, like many of us. Identified with the body. She's afraid of death. Not so much her own, but of her husband. Now, in old-timey days, in India, makes no real sense, but that was the culture. Being a widow is considered shameful. Is that still an idea? I think most of the culture is put that aside. Tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the practice of sati, where the women would be immolated on the funeral pyre and things like that. But and part of it has to do with who's going to take care of her once her husband dies. So here, Leela's saying, "Oh, what's going to happen if he dies first?" So this is a literary device. She does tapas, she does austerities in order to propitiate the goddess. So let's see what happens. Let's see if she's successful in propitiating Devi. Going on.
Maranam bharturagrime yadi daivad bhavishyati tatsarva dukkha nirmukta sansthasye sukhamatmani. If my death will happen before my husband's by destiny, then freed from all agony, I shall happily rest in the self.
So her desire is, I want to die first. But if he dies before me and I have to survive this and deal with the grief, I can't bear it. Going on.
Yadhyasau mriyate purvam tajjivo na grihat bahi yatha gacche tathopasya maya devi saraswati. If he dies earlier, his soul may not go out of its habitation. Thus should the goddess Saraswati be worshipped by me.
So she does tapas, ritual, to propitiate the goddess Saraswati. And what she wants Saraswati to do is give her a boon. These are literary devices. And the boon is, if my husband dies, I don't want his soul to leave his body. A strange desire. There are stories about people whose spouse dies and they let him sit there in a chair for 20, 30, 40 years like a mummy. She's a little weird here, but this is her desire. Going on.
Iti nishchitya sasnatham anutvaiva varangana yatha shastram chakarogram taponiyama asthita. Having resolved thus, that lovely woman, without even telling her husband, performed severe religious austerity according to scriptures, betaking herself to restraint or religious vows.
So, secretly, she's doing various rituals, doing tapas for the purpose of propitiating Saraswati so she can get a boon. And again, this is a standard literary device. Doesn't mean you and I are able to do this sort of thing. Going on.
तुष्टा भगवती प्राह गृहाण वरमिप्सितां देवी स्तुत्वा ततो लीला वरद्वयमयाचत. The goddess who was pleased said, quote, receive the boon desired by you, end quote. Then,
I'm
then
sorry.
having worshipped the goddess by hymns, Leela asked for two boons.
So she is successful. Saraswati appears to her and says, your tapas has pleased me. I give you boons. You get to ask for two favors. Going on.
भर्तुजीवो विदेहस्य मायासी निजमण्डपात् यदाहं प्रार्थये त्वां च तदा मे देहि दर्शनम्. May the soul of my husband, separated from the body, not depart from its temple or habitation. Whenever I pray for you, give me your vision.
So she's kind of got the goddess on a chain here. So the first thing is she doesn't want her husband to go off to some loka where she can't find him. She wants him around, even though he's died, if he dies. And when she asks, Saraswati will show up. Going on.
एतत् वरद्वयं लब्ध्वा बभूवानन्दधीरिणी काले बहुतिथे याते भर्ता तस्या ममारः. Having obtained these two boons, she became the possessor of happiness. After the lapse of several autumns, her husband did indeed die.
So her mind's at peace. She's got the goddess on her side. And alas, maybe she had a premonition. In fact, Padma dies. Let's see what happens.
देवाज्ञया तदा राज्ञी शोकसन्तापपीडिता शवीभूतं निवेश्याथ भर्तारं पुष्पखण्डके दुःखात् आहूय सा देवीम् उवाच भृशु दुःखिता. Then the queen, afflicted by the torment of sorrow, having placed her husband, who had become a corpse, in a bed of flowers as instructed by the goddess, and calling the goddess in agony, told as follows, greatly distressed.
So she does not go through the rites of cremation of her husband. Instead, she puts the corpse on a bed of flowers. And then she gets out her cell phone and rings up Saraswati. Come on, gal, I need your help. Going on.
क्वमवा वस्थितो भर्ता किं करोत्यथ कीदृशः समीपं नय मां तस्य नैका शक्नोमि जीवितुम्. Quote, where did my husband reside? What does he do? Of what nature is he? Lead me to him. I am not able to live alone. End quote.
So where is he? This is not an unusual thing. Maybe you or someone you know has gone to a psychic. Oh, my child died, my spouse died, or someone I really care for. You want the psychic to see, are they okay? Have you ever done that or have a friend who's done that?
Yeah, I know people who've done that.
Yeah. Pretty normal human thing. A lot of people. So Leela's no different. Where is he? What's he doing? And of course, the deeper question is, what happens when we die? Let's see what Saraswati does and says. Going on.
Evamukta tada devi brihattattvam upadishat. Thus addressed, the goddess then taught Leela the truth of Brahman, the supreme spirit or ultimate reality.
So, what is the body? What is the transmigrating soul? And what is ultimate reality? This is what the goddess is going to teach her. Going on.
Chittakasham chidakasham akasham cha tritiyakam dvabhyam shunyataram vidhi chidakasham varanane. There are the space of the mind, the space of consciousness, and thirdly, the sky or space. Lovely lady, the space of consciousness is more void than the other two.
So we have ordinary space, Akash. There's space in the room, there's space outside the room. There's the space in your own mind. Close your eyes for a moment. Visualize being on a plateau and you're overlooking a valley with a river in it, and there's tall mountains in the distance capped with snow. Can you see that? Open your eyes. All of that took place in the space of your mind. Then there's Chidakasha, uses this term. Space and consciousness itself. Ultimate reality in which all the worlds, gross and subtle, rise and fall. Going on.
Tasmin nirastani shesha sankalpa sthita meshi chet sarvat makam padam tattvam tvam tadat noshya sanshayam. If you will attain fixity in that space of consciousness, having cast off all thoughts, you will then attain to that true principle or state, which is of the nature of the whole, without doubt.
Yes. So, if you attain to fixity, what do we mean by that? We start by learning to bring the mind to a single point. Dharana, some concentration. Then with a single pointed mind, you introvert the attentive faculty. The space between thoughts. Who am I? What is my essential nature? I am that Chidakasha. I am the space of pure awareness. That's my swallow. No personal sense of self is real. Drop it. Withdraw the attention from anything knowable. Who am I? Going on.
Atyantabhava sampatya jagatchetad dapyate ityukta sahasa lila nirvikalpa samadhibhak. By the accomplishment of the complete non-existence of the world or impressions of the world, also this state is reached. End quote. Leela, who was told thus, all at once experience the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the yogic state of absolute consciousness, where there is no distinction of the knower, the known, and the knowing.
So we have our definition of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. When the triple factor of knower, knowing, and known is merged or gone. It is like deep sleep, in that there is no individuality, no phenomenal world. But in deep sleep, you are still conditioned by pure ignorance. Technically speaking, any time the mind is free from what we call vimarsha, movement or deliberation, any kind, that's Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And if we're attentive to that state, it doesn't have to be long. So there's this flash. Oh, there's nobody there. Some Vedantins say that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not necessary. Others say the mind just doesn't let go of its identification with the ego without. It is not to be accomplished by simple tapas, willpower, mind control. What you get with that is what we call a jada samadhi. I see nothing. Maybe euphoric, but it's not nirvikalpa samadhi. What holds egoism in place is vasana. It is the annihilation of the vasanas that allows the mind to slip into nirvikalpa samadhi. With mature vairagya, renunciation of attachment to all experiences gained through the senses, the renunciation of any form of self. And again, it doesn't have to be long. So many of the scriptures, it'll say so and so was in samadhi for a muhurta, 48 minutes. Some of us, our samadhis are very deep and very long. My suggestion, don't make nirvikalpa samadhi another object of desire. Instead, focus on this. Do you know who you are? Do you have moments of these? They can be just little flashes, where when you turn the mind's eye inward, do you see there's no person there? So, here, Leela, having heard this, having practiced intense renunciation, with the grace of the goddess, totally introverts the attentive faculty. Her mind enters nirvikalpa. Going on.
Satya Ch4 swakam deham antakarana pancharam dadarsha khyastha bhartaram asthane bahurajake. Then, having abandoned her own body, which is the cage of the inner organs, mind, intellect, ego, and the conscious stuff on which they are based, designated as manas, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta respectively, and established in space, she saw her husband in an assembly of a great number of kings.
So she now has the capacity to withdraw from her own physical body and her own subtle body. And she goes to some loka. Loka means world or people, a realm. As her mind returns from nirvikalpa, she sees this hall. She sees her husband there, Padma. Dude. So is this another world? Is this another place? Is it another time? Very interesting. Let's see what happens.
Singhasan samarudham praktanya jarasojhitam dvirashta varshabhupalam drishtva sa vismayam yayau. Having seen the king seated on a throne with his former infirmity or old age abandoned and 16 years of age, she was surprised.
Yeah. So not only does she see him, but he's back being a stud again. 16. Boys are so cute at that age. Where is he? What's happened? Going on.
Nijanta puramagatya devim samsara bhaktitah prishta devi tada praha sargastha bhranti matratam. Having come to her inner chambers, she thought of the goddess with devotion. The goddess who was questioned told her of the mere delusion of creation.
So she comes back from this vision. Did we skip one?
No.
Okay. So she comes back to her own chamber, having had this. Was it a vision? Did she go to some place? So she asked the goddess, what's going on? What is the truth of this world going on? See what Saraswati says.
Section 2. Purva Vrittanta, the early history. Devya Uvacha, the goddess, Devya Uvacha, At Asti Kaschidakasho, Kvachit Sansara Mandapaha, Tatra Vasishtha Namasid, Kaschid Dharma Paro Dvijaha. The goddess said, somewhere in the sky of consciousness, there is a certain hall of worldly existence. There, a certain virtuous Brahmana named Vasishtha lived.
So this is very funny. So Vasishtha is the dude who's telling the story, supposedly the author of this. So he says, there is some hall, some place in consciousness. In that hall, there was a virtuous Brahmin, Vasishtha by see what happened to this dude. Going on.
तुल्यशीलवयो वेशा तस्य भार्या क्यरन्धति कदाचित् स ददर्शार्ध परिवारयुतं नृपम्. His wife was Arundhati, who was indeed equal to him in character, age, and appearance. Once he saw below the king with his retinue.
So, Vasishtha has a very virtuous wife. They're both Brahmins. They're poor. Just because you're high class in India doesn't mean you're necessarily wealthy. So he's a poor, simple Brahmin. There's his dutiful wife, Arundhati. He's looking out the window. He's got a little two-story house. And he sees a procession going by with his Raja. Raja has bucks. His name was Elon Musk. Let's see what happens.
Aho Bhupal Lata Ramya Sarva Saubhagya Lalita Kadasyam Ahamapyevam Iti Sankalpa Anabhut. Quote, kingship is indeed delightful, fondled by all good fortune. When shall I also be like this? End quote. Thus did he become possessed of fancy.
So, this is an important notion. What is the physical body? The physical body is an instrument for the garnering of experience and the fulfillment of desires. Why do you and I have the life that we do? Why did we choose those particular parents? Where we were born, our social status, our economic status, all the various experiences. It's because at some level, like Vasishtha, we made a sankalpa. Oh, it would be better if only I had X, Y, and Z. So here Vasishtha, inadvertently, in ignorance, understanding the repercussions, wishes that he could be a king. Have any of you ever wished that you were rich? Fondled by wealth and power. We have what we call the Sanchita and Agami karmas. Sanchita are the karmas of the past which have yet to fructify. All these I'll be happy wins, it'll be better ifs from lifetime, which will sprout and mature in the right environment. So just for sake of conversation, we'll take Wendy because she's just right across from me. So let's say 5 lifetimes ago, you had the desire to be a really good chef, but you also had the desire to be a Russian ballet dancer. Can't have both. Gotta wait for the next lifetime. So when the environment is correct, the Sanchita karma fructifies. Agami karma are the karmas in a particular life that we set up for the future. Oh, being a chef wasn't that good, good and bad. It would have been so much better if I'd been born a Brahmin in India and had been exposed to yoga as a child. Ever had thoughts like that?
Not that particular one, but sure, other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we set up agami karmas of the future. Listen carefully. Both the Sanchita karma and the agami karma get roasted in the fire of knowledge. One of the fruits of knowledge is no change of circumstance has anything to do with real peace of mind, real happiness. This is it. This is all you need. So this is our prarabdha, the karma of the now. But Vasishtha either forgot this or didn't want to pay attention to it. So he said, oh, I want to be a king. And we'll see what happens next week. Same that time.
Same that channel.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari